My, oh my, are you true, or are you false, oh spoilers I spy? What's up guys, Hunter here, and here we are to do a breakdown and review, a longer review so I can yap unabated, of the Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 260 spoilers for the decisive battle in the uninhabited demon-infested Shinjuku part 32. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have quite a hefty chunk of stuff to talk about. So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. And enemy, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up guys, that guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do have to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, I'm sorry, my voice will fluctuate. It is still very early in the morning when I'm recording this. So like, I'll try to speak in my regular register, but like I actually have to raise it. This is like normal morning voice. It's why I typically don't record early in the morning. Would it be like that? Would it be like that? Especially would it be like that? I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't like when I speak in like the lower register, so I'm gonna try to keep it up here. But give it time. Give it time. I don't know. I got through like the whole first spoiler discussion, and then like my voice just dropped again. But hopefully I can somewhat keep it up in the higher register. I know that's a preferred voice. But if I'm down here, I'm down here. It'd be like that. Would it be like that? Especially would it be like that? But with that being the case, first things first. We gotta talk about this hand. You know, I shouldn't laugh, but like, dog, but like, my question is, how did he even think of this? What was the thought that's my main thing. What was the thought process? Like, here's the thing. At least the way Boogie Woogie worked before, it was a process of clapping hands. Hands, while different, are two similar things. Of course, like, you can even see the difference in my hands. One hand has a big old massive birthmark in the middle of it. The other doesn't. One has a piece of lead that's been stuck in it for like years now. The other doesn't. But like, general similar structure, you know. 5 fingers, a palm, I can clap. These don't even matter. Like, what is this? And like, here's the thing, right? Was that surgically applied by like Shoko and Yuta, or did this man just go out and grab one of these things? Because this is the. Hold on, I'm about to look it up. Vibra slap. Let me. I got the Googler on me. Why not? Vibra. Not that. Wow. Nope. It is a thing. Yep, the Vibra slap is real. So, did this man run to the store, grab a Vibra slap, break it in half, because it looks like the Vibra slap is meant to be like one individual thing, break it in half, and then stab it into his own hand? Like, I know you said you felt the pulsing beat of Boogie Woogie, but like, that's not good. That is absolutely insane. But you know what? Once again, this is why Gege Akutami is Gege Akutami. A bunch of people. And hey, to be fair, I don't blame people for this, because the Todo and Yuki relationship, despite being super duper important, it's the reason Todo is a sorcerer and is now here to be able to back up Yuji and save people. It really goes underexplored, like super underexplored. Yuki does not mention Todo once in her very limited screen time. Todo mentioned Yuki once in a flashback over 200 chapters ago. So like, I get why a bunch of people were fiending, especially considering nothing really confirmed that Garuda itself got destroyed, right? Like, people did not see it get destroyed. It was highly likely that it could have been refashioned into a hand for Todo or something like that. I do get that. I saw a bunch of fan art of that. I do think that is pretty cool. But like, this is Gege Akutami pulling out the most, like, and here's the thing. You're gonna see, I cannot knock its hustle. I cannot say it's ineffective. In fact, it may be more effective than the original Boogie Woogie in many different ways. But just the sheer audacity of the insanity to look me in the eyes and say, yes, this is what we're going with. I have to respect the gall, all right? Like if there's one thing I gotta respect, it's the gall. And I believe it. I believe Todo Aoi is insane enough to do this. Yeah. He's this nuts. He's this nuts that he sees nothing wrong with this. And to be fair, once again, it's crazy. I legally can't say there's nothing wrong with it either, because it ends up working. It ends up working. But just the sheer imagery is so, it's so strange too, because the contrast of Toto's like roided, not roided, he's all natural, nice, big, jacked, and juicy, but this gargantuan beefcake of a man with this tiny little instrument, this tiny little percussion instrument wedged in. It's crazy. But would that be the case? A little detail that I love is that both Sukuna and Yuji, since they haven't seen Toto, they haven't name-dropped Toto, and Toto's not been a factor for literally over 100 chapters, they're both just as shocked. Because they don't know. They don't know how it works. They're like, what? Yuji probably like on, does he still have his technique? And Sukuna's like, what the heck is that embedded in that boy's hand? Because I highly doubt either of them have even seen a Vibra Slap before. Maybe I have, maybe, but I don't think I've ever seen a Vibra Slap. I've never even heard of it. It sounds like, I can't say what it sounds like. I can't say what it sounds like because I like having a channel. But you know exactly, like y'all saw my reaction when to put in Vibra. Let's just say the last couple letters it was trying to recommend me were not slap. But with that being the case, what is the Vibra Slap here for? What does it facilitate that Toto can now do? Considering, once again, unlike what a lot of people were hoping for, it's not just a prosthetic hand, it's completely different. Like I wouldn't say that, hold on. Yeah, come here. I wouldn't say this. Like, that's not clapping. So what does this do? Apparently, once again, according to rough translations, the new activation key, the new activation quota for this variation of Boogie Woogie is to simply activate the Vibra Slap. To hit the ball down onto the bell, at least I think that's a bell, it looks like a wooden bell, maybe a little cowbell, and that activates Boogie Woogie. Now, once again, I'll need to wait until this extra chunk is translated, but apparently, due to the new activation criteria, and apparently like the amount of vibrations this time, Toto Aoi is allowed for a not only much broader range of activation, but also a very heavily increased number of activations in comparison to before. Like, I think somewhere I saw 50. This is the thing with rough translations. Hold on, let me see. Let me take a look in a book, reading Rainbow. Let's see. Narrator explains that Toto has changed Boogie Woogie's activation from clapping hands to the collision of the metal piece and wooden box of Vibra Slap. Toto can now swap people a total of 50 times in a second. Yeah. So, yeah, he can't swap people 50 times in a second. So, essentially, I think it has to do with legit, like, the vibrations of the Vibra Slap. Now, instead of each clap being an activating point, since it's based on the Vibra Slap, if you've ever, like, hit a percussion instrument before, I don't know how to play, but I've hit them before. Typically, it'll vibrate, like a bunch. Like, especially if you hit a cymbal, it'll just keep on going. To the point where it's a massive point of some songs where you'll see drummers, they'll boom, and then grab the cymbal, immediately taking out all the vibrations. So, the Vibra Slap essentially allows for the vibrations to be the source of the swapping. Each individual vibration, which can go upwards to 50 times based on the impact hit, which is very, very, very interesting. It's why, I will admit, if there's one thing I would have liked this chapter to do, but I understand why it doesn't, I would have liked a few more sorcerers to be involved in this to allow for more chaos, because if you can swap people up to 50 times a second, imagine the levels of switches you can do. But of course, it's really hard to portray in manga. It would get really confusing, and while, of course, it's meant to be confusing, naturally, it's Boogie Woogie. It's the whole point of the technique to be confusing. Limits the confusion and limits to what can be drawn. But with that being the case, you get a beautiful representation of this by everyone sort of being suspended in this swap state. This wonderful Boogie Woogie-fied world. And I love all the different reactions here. I love how Yuji's like, I need to lock in right here. Right now. To the point where he's just like scowling. Sukuna's like, they sleeping on me, forgetting I was sleeping in that No. Find a better way to phrase that. He was inside. He was a piece of He was there. All right, guys. Sukuna's. I assume Sukuna's big cheese in here. I can't read what his internal monologue is, but I'm assuming Sukuna's big cheese in here because he's like, it doesn't matter how many times you can swap, big boy. Sign the contract, big boy. Sign the contract. Because he's seen it before. He's been a part of it before. Even if he wasn't in control of the body ever when he was being swapped around, he still has the experiences, the memories. He knows what it feels like. So he's like, whatever. I'm logged in. Yeah, I know how you use it too. You're like, you ain't slick. You ain't special. You may be able to vibrate a little bit more. You see, the thing, the jokes, like, there's a fine line between the joke and my channel continuing to exist. I'm scared to cross that very fine line. So I want everyone who knows what the joke is to know what the joke is. And if you don't know what the joke is, that's okay. I'm proud of you. Don't find out what the joke is. Don't ask anybody in the comment section. Please. For your own sake. But no, I'm not. I'm gonna stop. I was about to make the joke anyway. Let me not. But meanwhile, while Sukuna's big cheesing over the fact that Toto's gonna have to sign the contract, big boy, Toto's like, oh, somebody signed the contract, and it ain't gonna be me. I love the little, like, you know he's plotting devious with that big old 530,000 IQ, and we see ultimately how it's going to go. Since Toto is the facilitator, and Yuji's the damage dealer, and Sukuna's the target, they're all going to focus on Toto, both Yuji and Sukuna. They're going to figure out exactly how to get their hits in, whether it be on to Toto, whether it be on to Yuji, whether it be on to Sukuna. Sukuna's forced to focus on Toto more actively, of course, considering he facilitates the swaps, but at the same time, he still needs to focus his attention on Yuji as well. And I think that's perfectly portrayed here by how his eyes look. Notably, we know the big bulbous eye can follow. Like, it's despite being massive in regards to the chunk and girth of Sukuna's. I gotta stop saying girth. Why did that become part of my vocabulary? But essentially, we know despite its size, it is able to track individually, but note how this eye is focused this way to the direction of Toto, while the other eye is focused this way to the direction of Yuji. Because that's the thing. Ultimately, Toto's dangerous because he facilitates Yuji, but Yuji's dangerous because Yuji debuffs Sukuna. Meaning that ultimately Sukuna needs to keep eyes on both in order to make sure that the whole scenario functions properly. Because if he takes hits from Yuji, uh-oh. If Toto gets out of any of Sukuna's hits, uh-oh. And we see that Yuji's set up. Once again, he goes for the... He's ready to slobber-knock Sukuna. And Toto hits the Vibra Slap. I should be able to say that word. Can I? I'm not... I'm scared. I'm very scared. I'm not sure. Once again, I love my channel. Please don't do it. Please. Don't banish it to the Shadow Realm. I'm begging you. But with it being the case, Toto smacks his... I mean, not inaccurate. He smacks his meat on the Vibra Slap. Stop it. He slaps his meat on the Vibra Slap and then immediately starts swinging. And one thing I do like is, once again, I mentioned this last chapter, the idea that now, in a way, Toto's actually allowed to do something again. Notably, Toto has 3 major fights throughout the entire series. 3 major jumpings throughout the entire series. The original Hanabi fight, the Mahito fight, and now the Sukuna fight. But unfortunately, for one of those 2 battles, or at least the previous 2, he was essentially only a swap merchant, and a Yuji facilitator. That was kind of it. His hits really couldn't do anything to Mahito. Mahito even points out, that was a nice juicy black flash you landed on me. Ain't gonna do nothing though. You ain't Goku, you can't vaporize me. But now Toto's able to actually throw hits in. And once again, he draws some juice from Sukuna from this kick. And of course, you could definitely argue Yuji's punch here also helps. But with that being the case, I'm still leaning into the idea that Toto didn't suddenly become as strong as 7 Black Flash Yuji. That's the thing. It's the thing about this fight, right? Just in general. How characters scale to Sukuna kind of, sort of doesn't matter, but does. You know what I'm talking about? Like, obviously, we kind of have to compare their performances to each other in order to determine who's the most effective against Sukuna, how strong was the variation of Sukuna they're fighting, what was the mentality of that Sukuna. Like, this is simultaneously the most fun time to scale anything ever, but the most annoying time to scale anything ever. Because Todo Aoi does kick Sukuna hard enough to draw a decent chunk of blood. Like, this single hit, unironically, does more than what Miguel did. This kick to the face, that does more damage to Sukuna than Miguel ever did. The man who's apparently superior to Gojo Satoru in hand-to-hand combat. Yeah. Oh yeah. Maki Zenin legitimately never damaged Sukuna like this. Well, actually, she did, like, full body tackle him, and, like, he like, got blood out his back. But to be fair, he had a massive hole in his back, which was leaking blood. So I'm assuming that's what all that impact was. I don't think it was actually just from Maki's tackle. Maki Zenin. Equivalent to Toji Zenin. God of War. Goddess of War. Yeah. Nothing like this. So now am I supposed to look at this and be like, well, it looks like base Todo, who, after who knows how many months of off-screen training, is now stronger than the Heavenly Restriction users. I don't think so. But if we go purely by feats and go look at nothing else, yeah, this kick does more than Maki did, more than Miguel did, more than... Nah, I can't say more than Yuta. More than Akari's done to Urube. Like, legitimately, this kick goes crazy feat-wise. But I still want to chalk it up to the idea that this is a super weakened Sukuna, and this is a completely fresh Todo. So, presumably, he's going to do decent numbers. But we see that Sukuna, as he gets kicked here, he realizes something. Now, hold on. Let me go back to the rough translations. This is one of the rare times where I'm not, like, book recording back to back to back to back to back. Let me see. Todo imposed a binding vow to limit the number of swaps in proportion to the collisions of the virus lab. Todo has successfully expanded his curse technique's targets to multiple targets and expanded the effective range of the technique. Narrator also reveals that Todo successfully evacuated the sorcerers from Sukuna's domain. Hallelujah. Maki is alive. But then again, does she count as a sorcerer? I think she does. In a way. I hope so. Please. Like, I swear, if we just cut and we find Maki just twitching on the ground trying to regenerate, I'm gonna be so mad. Okay, but that being the case, that's intriguing. Once again, thanks to the vibrations of the Vibra Lab, he's managed to just completely regenerate and reform the applications of Boogie Woogie, which in a way does make sense. We know a lot of JJK. It's sort of similar to the Hunter x Hunter system, where a lot of your ability is based on your perspective of your ability. How you view it drastically impacts how it functions. And with this new function, with this new vibration station, he does, in fact, have a new way to interpret his technique. And by focusing it all through the utilization of a binding vow, it makes sense. And hey, I'm happy. Todo's using binding vows. Characters on the good guy side are starting to use binding vows. Don't get me wrong. This is one thing, and I'll definitely make a video talking about it. There's no break next week, meaning I'll have to slide it in somewhere. That's the thing. I do love reviewing as many manga as I do, but as a byproduct, like, darn it, days get eaten up so quickly. But with it being the case, a lot of people are getting into this case for being a binding vow merchant. But, like, y'all, he's abusing a system mechanic. Why are we mad at bro? Like, what's the comparison? I think I told somebody, it's kind of like getting mad at somebody for using meter. Like, it's something that everyone has access to as long as you can get it, and as long as you can think of it. So yeah, use the meter. Like, well, specifically Dragon Ball FighterZ comes to mind. Like, that's like getting mad at someone for having 7 bars, and then they TOD you. Like, it took skill, it took understanding of the characters, and it took a resource for them to hit you with the TOD. Sukuna pulling out binding vow. He's just a tech beast. Like, I kind of hate to say it, but it's the reason why Sukuna, at least in my opinion, is overall the strongest sorcerer. I know. But like, the reason I think Sukuna is the strongest sorcerer is because he abuses literally every aspect of sorcery. He figured out what binding vows were and just started spamming them. And I can't knock his hustle. But I am happy that Todo's starting to use them. I'm hoping other characters start to use them. The thing is, though, I'm not exactly sure how other characters will use them. Because the thing with Sukuna, right, is that he has a lot to give. That's the thing about Sukuna and his binding vows. He had a lot, and I mean a lot of ways, to sacrifice something in order to gain something. He had a lot of ways to limit something in order to gain something. He had a lot of flexibility in the nature of his techniques. The only other person who I could see benefiting from binding vows extensively on the good guy side is maybe Satoru Gojo and Yuta Okkotsu, because Yuta Okkotsu also has a bunch of stipulations and ways to bend and manipulate his technique. But outside of that, I'm not sure. But Todo took advantage of it and essentially recompressed, limited the number of swaps in proportion to the collisions of the Virus Lab. But by doing so, he got access to the multi-form function. If I had to hazard a guess, the way it works is that instead of each individual vibration of the Virus Slap being like an individual swap point, like say let's say it does have 50 vibrations in a second, right? Instead of each vibration leading to a consecutive swap, he just has the amount of times it vibrates as the amount of people he could swap, multiple targets. So say there were 50 people he needed to swap, one hit of the Vibra Slap he'll to swap 50 people all at once, not having to worry about swapping them all individually. That's impressive. That's a unique way to apply it and work around it. However, we do get to see that in spite of that unique way and the hits they land, Sukuna is still, like, alive and well. He's still smiling and cheesing and realizing, yeah, okay, I ain't really doing nothing for real. And that is true. That's the big thing. I do think it's kind of crazy that Yuji isn't just trying to get his palms up. And I'll admit, the art in the chapter, there's another later point that I do want to point out art-wise. That's a little bit funky. But with it being the case, Sukuna is just kind of in a place where, like, I'm chilling. But I'll be real. Of anyone that has to show up and annoy me, Todo's the most annoying one. Apparently, he finds Todo really, really hard to break and, like, get in the head of. Because, once again, Todo's actually legitimately insane. I love the band, but he's nuts. And with that being the case, he's very self-actualized. He knows and understands himself very, very well, which allows for him to sort of play around the mind games of Sukuna. And by the mind games of Sukuna, I merely mean, like, tearing him limb from limb. And with that being the case, we see that Todo and Yuji spontaneously get the high ground, allowing for them to have a dominant position over Sukuna. They get a little bit of a distance from him, which I still think is a 50-50 on the efficacy of that. Like, notably, if I was in that same scenario, I would just keep the pressure on. And we see Todo somewhat goes to do that. But remember, he's in Curse Technique cooldown. Y'all, if one of y'all don't put him in a full Nelson, just let Yuji go to town. And by one, I literally just mean, like, swap Maki back in here, take his other arms off, and go absolutely insane. Like, legit, do something. We see that with them getting the high ground, Todo forces Sukuna into the high ground, goes in for a kick, only... See, here's the thing. I don't fully understand this flow of panels. This will come... When the chapter's cleaned up a bit, and, like, I can't even say translation, when the chapter's cleaned up a bit, let me take a look in a book. Leaking Rainbow. Let's see. Out of all the sorcerers, he's the most annoying to show up. Just as Todo was about to land a kick, Sukuna easily died. Oh, okay. So, at least... I'm not sure if this is the kick that Todo was meant to go in for, or if this was the kick. Like, he tried to drop kick Sukuna. Because, like I said, it looks like they get the high ground here. It looks like Todo swaps them with pieces of debris up here. And then Sukuna's down here alone. They're in the air. They have the high ground. And then Todo goes in maybe for a drop kick. But then again, it looks like they swap here. And then this kick is here. Oh, yeah, okay. So this is the kick. So, okay. Let me see if I can break down the funny. Once again, this is early morning pencil trying to do some mathematicals. And by mathematicals, I literally just mean reading JJK. And as y'all can tell, I cannot read. So, with it being the case, at least from my understanding of this, Todo, Yuji get the high ground. They have the high ground. It's over, Anakin. Then, by having the high ground, they swap places. Todo swaps places with Sukuna. Sukuna begins to fall. But, as Todo goes in for the kick, Sukuna just hops off air again. He just completely ignores it. Because once again, Sukuna, weird. He's just that guy. I don't know. I don't know. It is debatable. I will admit, it is debatable if he has precog. I still think he does because of that one interaction with Gojo and, like, his consistent ability to start to react to Gojo even when he occasionally uses blue. And obviously that whole, like, shadow clone moment where Gojo's, like, walking around him in a circle and then one Gojo goes to sneakily attack Sukuna and Sukuna's like, oh, you're right here. And just immediately catches it, blanks it, despite all those Gojos seemingly being real at once. He completely reads that. So, I don't know about that. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't have precog. But at least in terms of, like, aerial perception and, like, the way they see the world, I think Sukuna is just like the Heavenly Restriction users, because he just, like, bounces off air to completely avoid Toto's kick. Though admittedly, Toto, dog, if you don't stop attacking and keep facilitating, like, what, sure, your attacks do damage now. I get it. You do want to get your clout back. But my G, now's not the time. You gotta keep facilitating Yuji. Where is Yuji's kick? But speaking of Yuji's kick, we see that Toto realizes that Sukuna, he can dodge midair. But, with that being the case, he can dodge all he wants midair. Only if he's able to dodge whatever's coming towards him. Yuji Todori picks up a stone, imbues it with cursed energy, and pitches it straight at Toto. Not straight at Toto, straight at Sukuna. And then, of course, Toto facilitates it with a swap. And Yuji, I love the thing that I love here is that Yuji's not in this position when he throws the rock. You can see very clearly he's in a pitching position. But he immediately, like, must have leapt into this position, because as the rock reaches Sukuna, he's mid-curl for the missile kick, and he just straight beams Sukuna. Like, okay, computer, why are you getting loud? Why must you do this to me? Why must you betray me like this? Why are you screaming? There's nothing open on you except for this. How could you do this to me? I trusted you. And you just left me to scream. Well, that being the case, Yuji just beams Sukuna directly with the missile kick. And notably, it looks like Toto's... I'm not sure if this is... No. It still is his hand that he uses. I'm about to say, did he activate the Viper Slap with his knee? But we see, in spite of Yuji landing this missile kick, he's not taking any chances. And he just starts... he just starts pounding... Can I say it? He starts pounding Sukuna's face over and over and over again. Raw. No protection, no nothing. And we see that Sukuna's like, dude, I'll admit, you become more impressive, but where your black flash is at, G? And he grabs Yuji by the face and goes to launch him. And that is something that I do like. Yuji, if only temporarily, once again, we'll see by next chapter, depending on what happens next chapter, because we don't have a break next week. But it seems like Yuji got knocked out of the flow state. Once again, he did have to survive a whole domain expansion. He just had to went through the loss of Choso. He's confused by Toto coming back and needs to refacilitate around that. Yuji was knocked out of the flow state. Meaning, despite the many hits he lands on Sukuna this chapter before the end, like, let's see. He lands... boom, one hit here. No Black Flash. Then they have this other little interaction. He lands the missile kick. No Black Flash. And then he lands what looks like one, or I think maybe one or two, maybe possibly even three impacts, no Black Flash. He's out. And I think that does make sense considering what he had to go through, what he had to survive, and the way he had to reallocate his cursed energy. He's probably refocusing everything. But Sukuna knows that and is like, you ain't refocusing nothing, my G. And goes to absolutely toss Yuji around. Once again, it goes to show Sukuna, absolute freak of nature. This man should literally be in the trenches of the trenches. Like, think about how much damage the connection between him and Megumi has to have taken at this point. 7 Black Flashes, and then who knows how many regular hits. All that, and he's still moving like this. He's still moving deviously. This level of power and potency and control, I think it does come to the fact that Megumi's not fighting back inside. He still is most likely... I'm not sure if he's still in, like, a pseudo, like, fatigue or fugue state by the effects of the Unlimited Void, or if he's just still really, really sad. But presumably, despite Sukuna losing control over the body in a sense, he still doesn't really have anyone fighting back from the inside, so he's just able to keep moving. And that's really, really impressive, considering he's literally losing control of his own flesh and the vessel that he's in. But with that being the case, of course, he tries to throw Yuji, only for Total Aoi to completely reset their positions. Now, this one I'm not exactly sure how this ends up working. Like, I'm guessing? Like, it looks like here, Sukuna's mid-throw of Yuji. Then it looks like Toto swaps Yuji and Sukuna's places, but they both end up on their feet. So maybe what ends up happening is that Sukuna just instantly recovered when Toto swapped them. But still, regardless, it is kind of weird. However, once again, look at the hits. Toto's facilitating with the clapping, but Yuji lands a back shot to Sukuna right above the dumpy, does absolutely nothing in terms of, like, a lack of a Black Flash. Sukuna receives another back shot from Yuji, still no Black Flash. He's still zoned out, and Sukuna is still able to retaliate to some degree. But we see that ultimately Sukuna realizes that he's kind of in a funky little catch-22. Because even though he's able to survive everything, he's able to eat these hits, breakfast, lunch, and then a little snack on the side, maybe even a little bit of extra breakfast for later, it's scrumdiddlyumptious. He's not necessarily getting anywhere, like at least in the grand scheme of things. Let me see what the rough translations have to say. See, this is what happens whenever I have the translations. I'm always so intrigued to go read them. Todo, Yuji, and Sukuna are now in like a roulette. Sukuna realizes that Todo can change the maximum and minimum values for the number of swaps per single tap. Sukuna thinks it's practically impossible to get used to Boogie Woogie. And that's true. Considering Todo now has this new application of it thanks to the Binding Vow and the Vibra Slap, all of Sukuna's previous experience with Boogie Woogie is not necessarily rendered null and void, just like Yuji's isn't rendered null and void, but now it's just a lot more confusing and annoying to work around. He had a previous conceived notion of the technique, and he started to develop another one, but now he just can't read it. Where before you could tell. When he claps, he claps. Something's going to happen or something may not happen. What used to just be a regular 50-50 can now become a 50-20, a 50-80, a 50-100. He can switch up everything, whether it be the number of slaps, how many times of switching, if he switches at all those extra layers get in. It's kind of like, I keep going back to, I need to get good at Guilty Gear so I can start using those mix-up as references. But like, I don't know if you have ever been hit by Perfect Cell, and then you're in the corner, and then he level 3s you, and then you need to think of a wake-up strategy. But considering you're in heavy knockdown, the Cell has 4 separate ways to mix you up. Heaven forbid they have an assist. Cell can do it on his own, but if they have an assist, it's even worse. That's what Sukuna's in right now, times like a infinity, because he needs to consider every single factor. Todo can still physically harm him. Yuji can physically and spiritually harm him. And Todo can avoid the damage of both, and Yuji's bulky enough now, with all of his raw gains, that Sukuna's just generally ineffective towards him. Notably, right now, unless something crazy happens, Yuji's basically immune to Sukuna. All of the things that Sukuna could have previously done to do extreme damage to Yuji are ineffective. Whether it be dismantles, we've seen Yuji can walk through those. Whether it be regular hits, we've seen Yuji can tank through those. And sure, Yuji seemingly stopped his healing process, at least to the point where his eye and face haven't fully recovered or anything like that. But still, it's a really rough spot that Sukuna finds himself in. And we see that Todo continues the cycle. Now that they're in a roulette, he's got to keep playing and spinning that lottery. And we see... now, this is one thing. I'm still not sure what happens here. And this is why I'm going to try to translate. But Sukuna has figured out a way to read when Todo might swap. It's precisely when Yuji's focus has peaked. Sukuna thinks that Todo might faint by not swapping Yuji, but something else to trick opponents. So Sukuna moves... Okay, so this isn't explained. But it looks like Yuji lands a mean one straight to Sukuna, sending him flying into a pillar. So... raw strength was, yeah, Yuji like that for real, because this is something that Maki did with a full body tackle. And I'm not sure, like, what happens here? Is this a dismantle? Like, what goes on here? I'm not sure. It almost reminds me of Dismantle. But once again, I can't tell, really, somewhat due to poor art quality, somewhat due to being rough scanned, and somewhat due to me just being unable to tell what it is. But it looks like possibly Sukuna sends something out towards Yuji, and it doesn't seem to do much, and it doesn't hit Todo at all. But Sukuna's still grinning, Yuji's confused, but it looks like maybe Sukuna's technique has come back, which I think is fine. I'm leaving rock with it. Or maybe this is just the pillar shattering and then Todo swaps their places again, but I still don't know. I still don't know why Todo would do that. So I'm not sure what this panel is. This is something I'm going to wait for the translation on. But this is the page where Sukuna's like, okay, yeah, I can't really fully adapt to or understand Boogie Woogie in of itself, but I have an idea. I have a way, which is the ability to just guess when Yuji's at peak focus. Remember, sorcerers can kind of sense when other sorcerers are about to land black flashes, or at least Sukuna can. He notes back in the 256, I do believe, that he felt it. Like, he could feel that Yuji was rearing up and gearing up for a black flash. He knew. He felt it in his big toes. And ultimately, he knew he had to deal with that, but LaRue set him up. Now, Todo's there to set him up, But with that being the case, Sukuna's ready for it. He's ready to read the swap, just like Mahito was. And we see he's going to end up much more like Mahito than he ever wanted to. And we see that as Sukuna goes in for a big ol' Slabanaka, he reels back, notably with no Curse Energy coating his hand, while Yuji goes in for one, Curse Energy coating his hand. And then, everything changed when Bird Gang attacked. Bird Gang shows up out of nowhere, and notably, Sukuna immediately needs to register it. Another target, something else to be swapped with. And hey, anything that gets swapped with could become a dangerous asset. Mei has infinite birds, and Sukuna immediately goes to respond, just in case he gets swapped with. But unfortunately, he fell for the Okidoke, as Sukuna hears the Vibra Slap get hit, but nothing happens. And we see, once again, this is a little awkward artistically, I'm not sure. This section feels a little weird, but the rest of the Sukuna panel makes up for it. But we see Todo has faked Sukuna out. There was nothing to be swapped with in the first place. Or there was something to be swapped with, but Todo didn't end up falling for the Okidoke. And we see the awakened Yuji Todori take the opportunity to lock right back in and land another meaty. You need to stop screaming. Stop it. You had just gone quiet for like 2 seconds. I was so proud of you. And now you're screaming again. Bad. Stop that. But he lands a meaty black flash directly to the chest of the King of Curses. And Sukuna, he feels it. But notably, Yuji's like, nah, G. I've got you in my hands, so I'm not gonna let you go. And he straight takes his clawed hands. Bro says, hold on. I got these grippers for you, my G. I got these grippers for you. He takes his clawed hands and just starts scooping. He just... He dives in there. Like a lot of people want... Let me not. Let's hold the jokes back. Some jokes, they're worth the risk. Other jokes, let's not. But with that being the case, he just starts scooping out Sukuna's heart. He reaches into his chest cavity and starts straight like nail digging. Like, yo, I'm gonna make sure. Once again, he's just making it as annoying as possible for Sukuna to do anything, lowering his output, stopping his RCT resurrection, doing everything in his power to make sure that Sukuna feels every single bit of this. Once again, though, dog, what is, like, at this point, just off him, bro. Like, Megami's he's not savable, bro. That man is done. But we see that ultimately, Yuji begins to scream at Sukuna, really letting him know that, yo, this is my time. I'm about to scoop your heart out, your guts out, everything. I'm taking everything back. And then Sukuna's like, oh, you taking everything back, huh? It's rewind time, and immediately goes to activate another domain expansion. But let me get the last translation for this. Let me get the last translation for this real quick. Let me see. Even though Yuji's hand has pierced his chest, Sukuna tries to expand his domain once again. But Sukuna sees a mysterious silhouette. The narrator explains that Sukuna has witnessed him, the strongest ghost that Sukuna slaughtered by his own hands. Through the smoke, through the shade, through the shadow, Ryomen Sukuna sees what appears to be Satoru Gojo. Now, I did a whole full proper breakdown of the chapter, what I liked, what I didn't like. It's really just like some minor art stuff. I don't know. The rest of the chapter is gas. I love seeing Yuji and Todo fight. Though, admittedly, I still think there was some lost potential. Once again, I was hoping for like a deep evolution. I was really, especially with the confirmation that he could swap people upwards of like 50 times per second. Like, I was hoping for some like crazy stuff. But of course, that door's still open. Todo's still perfectly fine. Todo does not take a single hit this chapter, and Yuji is just as fine with him. So like, it's still entirely possible. Don't freaking tweak. It's still entirely likely that things could go absolutely buku bonkers. But speaking of buku bonkers, Satoru Gojo, seemingly enough, has returned. Now, for everyone who was holding out hope, if this ends up being real, and I mean real as in like Sukuna isn't just generally tweaking out, or this is like truly Satoru Gojo's resurrection and stuff like that, congrats to everyone who held out. I'm not even gonna pretend to take credit. Hey, y'all know I've been fine with him being gone for a while now. Like, it's been like over half a year. I was cool with it. And once again, that was for like thematic reasons and the character reasons. Like, Gojo seemed happy in the afterlife. He seemed to have acquiesced, and obviously, I was kind of just, the funny thing is, I was gonna make a video saying the battle between Gojo and Sukuna isn't over yet, but it was supposed to literally just be like metaphorically, in the sense that the battle of their ideologies isn't over yet. It's the idea of believing in the many versus believing in oneself, and how that battle was still going on. But so Gojo Satoru was like, nah, I'm coming back, and it looks like this is him. Seemingly enough, though, going with the popular fan theory that Satoru Gojo was going to sacrifice something in order to get his resurrection, he seems to be only one-eyed, but at the same time, this is clearly a callback to the "you should have gone for the head" all the way back in Hidden Inventory, where it also seemed like Gojo Satoru had just one eye. So it could be possible that he's just back, and if so, the murder's happening. That was one of my big things. One of the hugest, most massive and girthy. I gotta remove Griff from the vocabulary, bro. It's getting too devious. But, like, one of the biggest, massive, juiciest things that I was worried about was, like, merger, its potency, its viability. The cast is gonna be way too tired to fight that thing. So, how are they gonna do it? But with Satoru Gojo being resurrected and Ryomen Sukuna not having ready and easy access to World Slash, unless he performs another Binding Vow on top of a Binding Vow in order to get World Slash, he needs to pop it at this point. Because, sure, he could just pop Domain and hope for the best, but who knows how long this domain's gonna last. He could only pump it out for 99 seconds last time. And even then, it didn't really do much until the Furnace. And sure, he could possibly pull the Furnace against Satoru Gojo again. Maybe he could risk it. The flames may be heated up enough. But the question really becomes, would he be able to do that? I've seen a whole bunch of people make videos on it, and I'll probably react to one of them to talk about it or make my own video. Maybe he straight up couldn't use Furnace because he couldn't hit him with his mantle. So that same scenario may apply here if this is really Satoru Gojo. Now, the whole idea of this really being Satoru Gojo, once again, low-key kind of in denial. I mean, I'm down with it. Whatever. I'm more than fine with it. I'm, once again, believing merger now has to happen. Unless we're just really going to wrap this up for real. But how do I feel about him coming back in general? Because I've already seen the discourse. People are freaking out on the happy side. People are freaking out on the negative side. I'm intrigued. This is one of the rare cases where I'm fully neutral. Where it's like, I see the negatives of him coming back. In the sense that he's kind of going to steal the spotlight away from your Totos, from your Yuji, stuff like that. One of the biggest things that Yuji was just overcoming in the community, as in, like, the JJK community, and by proxy, even the anime community at large, because, you know, JJK spoilers have kind of become, like, a ritual, like, just for the whole internet. One of the biggest things that Yuji was overcoming, thanks to the fall of Satoru Gojo, and the fall of Yuta Kotsu, and the fall of Maki Zenin, and the fall of insert character here, whether it be Miguel, LaRue, all that, he was getting that main character status back. He was, like, getting his punch card filled after all this time. He was finally going crazy, doing big numbers, doing big damage to Sukuna. He was finally leading the battle on his own. The main facilitator, the main attacker, the main defender, he was him. He was our main character, solidly. I was really loving that run. I feel like if Gojo Satoru comes back, what's going to happen before is going to happen again, where he sort of overrides the main character. And once again, going into that thematic ideal of Gojo's own ideals, the idea of hoping and focusing on the future versus focusing on the past, focusing on group strength versus focusing on individual strength. And if Gojo comes back and takes over the battle, again, we get Gojo versus Sukuna round 2, then technically that kind of just goes back to Sukuna's ideal. Okay, good job, Gojo. You raised the fodder up long enough to stand against me while you resurrected, and now you beat me. Technically, it still is Gojo's ideology working out, because it was him raising up the next generation that allowed him to be strong enough to fight Sukuna, but at the same time, he would still come back and take a win, right? But of course, that becomes the question, if he wins. Will he? But there's also the flip side to that. This could be a nerf Gojo. Well, again, we don't know. He kind of just shows up out of the Shadow Realm. We only see a portion of his face. He doesn't attack or anything. He doesn't say a word this chapter. He kind of just gets glazed by the narrator, which is fine, you know? A little glaze never hurt nobody. But the possibility of Gojo fighting alongside Yuji? I'll take it. The main thing I really wanted to see, true form Sukuna versus Satoru Gojo. Of course, the unfortunate thing is this is not truly a full form, true form Sukuna. Like, obviously still missing both arms, missing a heart, missing his big toes. Like, bro's in horrid shape. But still, I did actually really want to see the strongest sorcerer in history versus the strongest sorcerer of today. Not the strongest sorcerer in history in the body of a 15-year-old. Is he 16? I think he's still a 15-year-old. Actually, no, I think he is 16. I think maybe 16 at this point, because his birthday was sometime in December. But not the strongest sorcerer in history in the body of a 16-year-old versus the strongest sorcerer of today, but the strongest sorcerer in history in his own flesh versus the strongest sorcerer of today. That's a possibility that's now reopened from this. Yuji and Gojo actually collabing is a possibility born of this. The hypothetical implications of the Six Eyes and their roles in, like, maintaining or destroying or overriding fate itself, there are big things that could come from this. Because one of the biggest things that we have not touched on in a while, but now with the return of Todo and the hypothetical return of Satoru Gojo, I think we are going to finally tackle the role of fate and, like, destiny in JJK. It's a thing. It sounds so weird saying it's a thing, but it is a thing that is present and does matter. And it seems like we may finally be able to tackle that. Did Gojo resurrect of his own free will? Or is this similar to what happened to Toji? Where, like, the world itself, due to a glitch in the system, is like, the merger is about to happen. We cannot let the merger happen. Resurrect the Six Eyes user if there cannot be another one born of decent quality to stop the threat. And Gojo's Satoru resurrected. I don't know. He looks like he's generally tweaking, which could be a good thing or could be a bad thing. What if he just attacks completely wildly here? That's one of the things I was worried about. And once again, this is why you gotta make videos. But I mentioned it previously. One of the ways I'd have been perfectly fine with Gojo coming back is if he's feral, or if it's not Gojo, if it's just his body. Once again, the whole Puppet of Carnage idea that gets introduced in Shibuya. The way that Satoru Gojo resurrects isn't by any means of he himself returning, it's just his body, his flesh, and all the instincts that come with that. He's an embodiment of the Limitless and the Six Eyes, an embodiment, a tool of fate, rather than actually a character. So, in a way, Sugata isn't just the only one having to deal with Satoru Gojo. Everyone has to deal with Satoru Gojo, as if he were a mad monster or a creature needing to be overcome. I don't know. All that interest is now there and reignited, and I'm interested to see where Gege takes this. If this just ends up being an illusion, a trick, Sugata losing his own good mind, maybe, like, all the binding vows and all the soul damage and all that is catching up to him, he made a mistake, he slipped up, he broke something there, and bada bing bada boom, he's hallucinating Gojo, well, that's fine. Perfectly fine. I don't necessarily mind Gojo not actually being back. If this is real, I'm excited to see the merger pop off, because I don't think anything else is going to really happen with that. But overall, WWW chapter. However, that's what I think. Please, what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Blue-Eyed King. Leave Blue-Eyed King in the comment section down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that little notification bell so you not miss out on any videos that come on the channel. Also, I do happen to have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to this very chapter, ad-free variations of all my videos, and if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, if you want to leave a donation to your boy for the 25 beans to get a full video, 5 beans to get a short little video, or any sort of donation, all the link to my Ko-Fi is also in the description down below. I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is Dagger the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members. O'Connor Plays, Greyhound, At Kids Void, Astro, Eternal Flame, Red Wolf, 4765, King Sukuna, NMA, Real Rare, Paris Arnold, and G Prosper. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 members, Super Gamer Q, Steron, Sean, Sammy, Oexian, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, Josh Brown, and A+A. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $7 member, Autumn Mornings Lazo. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 members, Robbie Uchiha and Jay Warrior. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 patrons, Joaquin Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give a final gargantuan thank you to our $25 patron, Calvin Elder.